This lesson will answer the question, what is theory of knowledge, or TOK? Understanding this question is the key to success in your TOK coursework. But before we try to answer this, let's quickly walk you through how assessments work in TOK. Your school will give you a range of TOK assignments, but in this Tackling TOK series, we'll focus on the 2 TOK assessments that count towards your final mark for the IB diploma. Along the way, you'll learn all the skills you need to ace any TOK assignment that comes your way. For the TOK presentation, which is the internal assessment, we'll teach you how to find a solid, real-life situation and then extract and explore a fantastic knowledge question. For the TOK essay, the external assessment, we'll help you break down a prescribed title into a few central knowledge questions and come up with claims and counterclaims to explore those questions. But before we jump into these 2 TOK assessments, let's try and answer our fundamental question, what is TOK? To help you understand what TOK is all about, we'll unpack key sections of the IB Theory of Knowledge Guide. One of the first things to understand is that TOK is about the process of knowing, rather than just learning a specific body of information. So basically, it's a course about critical thinking, which will teach you how to think about the concept of knowledge itself, rather than just teaching you about particular facts or concepts. According to the TOK Guide, the fundamental questions that TOK seeks to explore are, how do we know that? And similarly, how do you know? To answer these questions, the TOK Guide encourages you to investigate different areas of knowledge, or AOK, and ways of knowing, otherwise known as WOK. There are 8 areas of knowledge, which the guide describes as branches of knowledge. Each area of knowledge involves specific types of knowledge and methods to gain knowledge. For example, you would use the scientific method to gain knowledge in the natural sciences, such as in chemistry and physics. Check out our other lessons on TOK Basics for more detailed discussions of each area of knowledge, including mathematics, the natural sciences, the human sciences, history, the arts, ethics, religious knowledge systems, and Indigenous knowledge systems. The TOK course also covers ways of knowing. Different ways of knowing help us gain understanding in different areas of knowledge. Ways of knowing also provide a basis for personal knowledge. So they contribute to our individual and collective understanding of almost everything. Check out our other lessons on TOK Basics for more detailed discussions of each way of knowing, which include language, sense perception, emotion, reason, imagination, faith, intuition, and memory. The TOK Guide also distinguishes between shared knowledge and personal knowledge. Shared knowledge has a few key characteristics. It's the product of more than one individual, so many people contribute to a body of shared knowledge over time. Most shared knowledge can be grouped into distinct areas of knowledge, including the 8 areas that we mentioned earlier. And last but not least, it's highly structured and systematic in its nature. It's much more organised than personal knowledge, which we'll cover later. Think about physics. It's impossible to pin down who the first physicist was. However, people like Thales of Miletus and Leucippus from the 5th and 6th centuries BCE disputed the notion of supernatural causes, suggesting instead that events had to have natural causes. Rejecting the complex system of gods in ancient Greece is what made them some of the Western world's first physicists. Fast forward a couple of thousand years to the scientific revolution that happened during the 16th and 17th centuries in Europe. The findings of scientists such as Galileo and Copernicus caused paradigm shifts, which is where a particular way of thinking about the world is completely changed. For example, people used to think according to the geocentric model of the universe, in other words, that the sun revolves around the Earth. But the work of Galileo and Copernicus completely upended this paradigm, leading to a heliocentric understanding of the solar system, in other words, one where the Earth revolves around the sun. Today, scientists are still adding to this body of knowledge. The combined work of both ancient and modern scientists makes up the shared knowledge of physics. It's a body of knowledge that doesn't belong to and could not have been produced by anyone in particular, but rather it's the aggregate of many different thinkers. Shared knowledge is refined over time through a process of peer review. New findings are checked by a group of experts in the same field before they become widely accepted. Personal knowledge, on the other hand, depends on the experiences of a particular individual. It's gained through experience, practice, and personal involvement, and may include skills, practical abilities, and individual talents. For this reason, it's sometimes called procedural knowledge because personal knowledge is often about knowing how to do something, like how to ride a bike or how to bake a cake. Now, what are some differences between shared knowledge and personal knowledge? Shared knowledge is typically developed and maintained by a group of people working in the same field, while personal knowledge is specific to an individual. We need to be careful when dealing with personal knowledge because it can be coloured by an individual's personal perspective. And what about the structure of each type of knowledge? Whereas shared knowledge is highly structured and organised, personal knowledge is related to our own unique individual experiences of the world, so it might not have a particularly systematic structure. We can also start making some links between personal and shared knowledge. The same ways of knowing can contribute to both personal and shared knowledge. Most shared knowledge actually begins as personal knowledge. For example, think about the conclusions and insights an archaeologist might have after she's examined new artefacts. As she learns more and more from these historical sources, the archaeologist might come up with a new theory. At first, this theory may be considered personal knowledge. It is unique to her experiences. Then, after many experts check her work in the process of peer review, the theory might be accepted in the broader archaeological community. The archaeologist's original personal knowledge then evolves into shared knowledge. The reverse can occur too. As we study a certain area of knowledge, we gradually incorporate the shared knowledge of that subject area into our own personal knowledge. For example, if you study nutrition, over time you might start to see different foods in a new light. Maybe that burger won't look so yummy after all, once you know exactly what those calories are doing to your body. As you study the shared knowledge of a subject, it gradually becomes part of your own personal knowledge. Good start! We've just covered all the basic terms and ideas that you need to understand TOC. We've unpacked key terms from the IB TOC guide for you, introducing areas of knowledge, ways of knowing, shared knowledge, and personal knowledge. Now you're ready to dive into our next video on areas of knowledge. We hope you enjoyed this Schooling Online production. For more easy lessons on TOC basics, check out our next video on areas of knowledge, Lesson 1.